Hi there, and welcome to Education Unveiled. I am Professor Dawn Wooten, and today we're going to be talking about technology in education. What's good, what's bad, how can we use it, and how can it help our students? But first, let's talk about the news in two. I recently read an article about AI helping students with their homework. Yeah, no, this is not a good idea. If AI is helping them with their homework, then they're not doing their homework. They should be certainly using their resources, but they shouldn't be using artificial intelligence to help them with their homework. Because what's going to end up happening is that the AI will do the homework for them, and therefore they're not learning. So, this idea of including artificial intelligence in homework or even in this classroom is really not the greatest idea because all you're going to do is give students another way that they don't have to think, that they don't have to try when they're learning. And that's not going to accomplish anything. So let's talk about technology in education, okay? Now, I know a lot of teachers who use technology regularly in the classroom. I'm one of them. I use PowerPoint regularly. I show videos regularly. I use YouTube videos to help my students with certain, concepts that they have difficulty with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, technology should not overtake education. So that is what I'm actually going to be talking about today. Okay. Now, the Federal Department of Education has what they call their technology plan. Now, if you've seen my videos, you know I'm not a big fan of the Federal Department of Education. So let's look at just some of the pieces of their ed tech plan and why they're not going to work. Okay. Their stated goal, the U.S. Department of Education is committed to leveraging the power of technology to rethink education and approach student learning in new ways. Why? Why? Okay. I've had comments from people saying that you can't get rid of technology in education because we live in a technologically driven world. That is very true, and I have no argument with that. What I do have an argument with is introducing it as young as kindergarten. At that age, students' brains are still growing significantly. In fact, that's when they grow the most is between ages 3 and 5. And so if you have your child in pre-K or they're in kindergarten at age 5, then they are at the peak of their ability to learn. So why would we want to give them technology at a time when their brains are ready to accept traditional learning? At a time when their brains are poised to learn the fundamentals of education, reading, writing, arithmetic. We should be using that time to really set the foundation for their learning and give them a love for learning. Technology, I believe, takes away from learning because it makes things too easy. If you make things too easy, the child doesn't have to work on their critical thinking skills or their problem solving skills, which are essential in everyday life, regardless of how much technology we have. The next step in their technology plan, incorporating new developments in education technology and share a vision for how schools and districts across the country can continue to use technology to improve equity and opportunity for all students. A school with connectivity but without robust science facilities can offer its students virtual chemistry, biology, anatomy, and physics labs, offer its students learning experiences that approach those of peers with better resources. Okay, this sounds good to students who don't normally have access to those things. However, they also tend not to have teachers who are abreast of that new technology. So what's the point in getting it to them if you don't have teachers to pair with it? Now, I'm not saying that their teachers are sub-quality or substandard. What I'm saying is that they may not have been given the training in order to use that technology to its fullest potential. So there are some risks with that. And this is one that kills me. Learners with agency can intentionally make things happen by their actions, and agency enables people to play a part in their self-development, adaptation, and self-renewal with changing times. To build this capacity, learners should have the opportunity to make meaningful choices about their learning, and they need to practice at doing so effectively. This lays the foundation for lifelong self-directed learning. Technology cannot replace a teacher. Technology cannot replace a parent. Technology cannot replace a book. A foundation for lifelong self-directed learning. If you're an adult, you are a self-directed learner, and that is fine. But for children whose brains are still growing and who need, interaction with humans, you can't you can't expect them to do self-directed learning. Now, when you're getting into 11th grade, 12th grade, juniors and seniors in high school, some self-directed learning would be good. It's good practice for college. But at the lower grade levels, no, this should not even be a goal. If a student is learning in a traditional format, they already will naturally become self-directed learners. We don't need technology for that. Interacting with peers, handling conflicts, resolving disputes, or persisting through a challenging problem are all experiences that are important to academic success. This is very true. However, the Department of Education says digital games can now allow students to try out varied responses and roles and gauge the outcomes without fear of negative consequences. So now we want a computer to teach kids proper social responses or behavior. Our first ability to learn comes from observation of those around us. No computer can come up with every single possible scenario in any given situation. Okay? So, there are games that can help students learn proper social skills, but there's no way a computer game is going to be able to come up with every single possible scenario for a social situation, how to solve it, how to fix it, how to communicate with your peers. It's something that has to be learned through observation and experience. You cannot duplicate that in a digital environment. Now, there's a middle school principal in Killeen, Texas, named Jill Balser, and she uses something called School Kit in her school. And she spoke with an 8th grader who achieved academic distinction for the first time in 5 years after using the program. When I asked him what the difference was, he said that now he understood that even though learning was not always going to come easy to him, it didn't mean he was stupid. It just he needed to work harder on that subject. Okay, so when teachers fail, let's just let computer programs do it? What the hell? No. Okay, if a teacher is not able to reach a student, that teacher's responsible for putting that child together with resources where they can understand. Put them with another teacher who has a different teaching style. Give them extra resources throughout the day. Provide them with breaks if they need them. Always give them as much attention as possible. I know that's difficult, okay, especially in classrooms with incredibly large sizes. But that's a teacher failure. That's not a failure of the student. If you can't explain to a student that just because they learn differently or at a different pace, that doesn't make them stupid, then what the hell kind of teacher are you? Okay? I'm all for teachers. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for them. But these kind of things can't be pushed off on technology. I'm sorry, it cannot do the same thing. Learning in action. This is also from the Federal Department of Education. Technology can enable personalized learning or experiences that are more engaging and relevant. This is true if you're older. Okay, this is not something you could do in elementary school or even middle school. It'd have to be high school. Technology can help organize learning around real-world challenges and project-based learning using a wide variety of digital learning devices and resources to show competency with complex concepts and content. You show competency by passing a test. You show competency by completing a project, turning it in, and having a human evaluate it. Okay? There is lots we can use in digital technology, but it doesn't mean we should erase everything else. To Technology can help learning move beyond the classroom and take advantage of learning opportunities available in museums, libraries, or other out-of-school settings. While this is true, it's not better than actually going to a museum or going to a library or going to those out-of-school settings. That immersion, that physical immersion in those environments is far more productive in the learning capacity of a student than just looking at something on a computer screen. Just looking at it on a screen does not give you the experience that you need. It doesn't give you the environment. It just gives you a digital representation of that environment. It's one thing to look at a picture of something on a screen and another to stand in front of it in a museum and look at it. It's a completely different experience because you're using so many different senses when you're in the environment with the object. So it's great, like if you are a student in Mississippi and you know you're never going to have the opportunity to go to Paris and you want to see the Eiffel Tower, sure, look it up. But that does not replace going there. Okay? Technology can help learners pursue passions and personal interests. It can help anybody pursue passions and personal interests, okay? It doesn't just have to be students or learners. Technology access, when equitable, can help close the digital divide and make transformative learning opportunities available to all learners. An adult learner with limited physical access to continuing education can upskill by taking advantage of online programs to earn new certifications and can accomplish these goals regardless of location. There's good and bad here. Yes, it's true. Online learning is great for professionals who are looking to get an additional certification or want to complete an undergraduate program or do their master's degree and they don't have time for a traditional classroom setting. Yes, that is wonderful. However, when it comes to equitable technology access, I have to go back to what I said earlier. You can have access, but if you don't have someone qualified to teach you how to use it, what good is it going to do you? Really, what good is it going to do you? Okay, so even though online programs and e-learning and all these things are great options for temporary problems like a snow day or a pandemic situation, they're not the solution to education. They're just not. People are the solution to education. Teachers are the solution to education. A student's tangible engagement with a physical model is connected to a more abstract conceptual models supporting students' growth of understanding. Okay? So like I said, being with something is far better than just looking at it. Okay? But this is one thing I cannot deal. Toward a similar goal, elementary school students sketch pictures of mathematical situation using a pen on a tablet surface with representational tools and freehand sketching, much as they would on paper. Unlike with paper, they can easily copy, move, group, and transform their pictures and representations in ways that help them express what they're learning about math. These can be shared with a teacher, and via artificial intelligence, the computer can help the teacher see patterns in the sketches and support the teachers using student expression as a powerful instructional resource. All hail no. All this just seems to be the road to getting rid of teachers and not allowing computers to educate our children. This is not a solution, okay? The artificial intelligence allows the teacher to see patterns. If that teacher's worth their salt, they can see them without artificial intelligence, okay? If you're a good teacher, you can notice that stuff. You can recognize that stuff, and you can see where it is in the process the student is having difficulty making connections. That's what teachers are for. This is another one. Although research indicates that teachers have the biggest impact on student learning out of all other school level factors, we cannot expect individual educators to assume full responsibility for bringing technology-based learning experiences into schools. As I said, you can bring them the technology, but if they don't have the proper training, it will be useless. Educators can be guides, facilitators, and motivators of learning. Yes, absolutely. By understanding how to help students access online information, engage in simulations of real-world events, and use technology to document their world, educators can help their students examine problems and think deeply about their learning. Making access to information easier is one thing. That doesn't mean students are thinking deeply about their learning. In fact, I think it's the opposite. They see Google as a way to avoid studying. Studying is the primary way that the human brain learns. Okay? Working on your homework or doing lesson plans through and relying on technology is not going to help with the learning process. The learning process is an organic process, not a digital one. So all of this seems to be leading toward let's just get rid of the human component in learning and have computers teach our children. That's not going to be a good thing. That will never be a good thing. So, are there pros to this use of technology in education? Sure. Augmented reality is a new way of investigating our context and history. This is a good idea. A combined hardware and software program is being built to support this type of learning. Students will use a mobile device with augmented reality to create a field experience at a local historical site. So, for example, if they're using augmented reality, they could walk around at the pyramids at Giza. And even though they can't touch them, augmented reality can create that environment. Now, does that replace a lesson in it or teaching in it? Of course not. But it's a very cool way to get kids really get their feet in the ground and really give them as close to a hands-on experience as you can. But again, that cannot replace anything else. It needs to be an addition, not a substitution. Okay? They're creating these three principles for what they call the universal design for learning. This is from the federal DOE. Okay? Providing multiple means of representation so that students can approach information in more than one way. Those include digital books, specialized software websites, screen readers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the thing. We can do that already, all right? We provide multiple means of representation, and we've been doing that since public schooling started, okay? It's just that as technology has progressed, we've just added more tools to it, okay? So it's not like this isn't already happening, it is. If you're a good teacher, you are handling every lesson to teach every learning style. So you're providing things for kids who are more visual, kids who are more audio, or kids who need to work with their hands in the tactile way. Okay. So you can already do that without technology. Technology offers a lot more, and that's fantastic, and it's a great option for teachers. But it doesn't have to be the main portion of teaching. Okay? Another principle, providing multiple means of expression so all students can demonstrate and express what they know. If you have a student who doesn't do well talking, you have them write. If you have a student who doesn't do well writing, you talk to them. You don't need technology for that. Now, there are screen to text programs that help students with learning disabilities, and that's fantastic. But in general, a student who has no learning deficiencies, no disabilities, no emotional problems, nothing blocking their ability to learn, you shouldn't be giving them extra tools to make it easier. It needs to be hard. Anything worth doing is hard. The final principle, multiple means of engagement to stimulate interest in and motivation for learning. Educators can collaborate for far beyond the walls of their school, and this is a pro for sure. Being able to connect with educators all around the country and all around the world, to be able to ask them questions. If you're trying to teach a lesson on Shakespeare and you need someone to explain something to you about the culture of early British history, who better to talk to than a British teacher? So you have that ability to find those people as a teacher and be able to collect information and data that you normally would not have access to. Even though you could probably look a lot of that stuff up on the internet, it is so much better to hear it from an individual who has grown up in the culture. So that is a pro for sure for teachers. Now, one thing that has occurred in the last couple of years that has made life incredibly difficult was COVID, obviously. We had our online learning during COVID for majority of the schools in this country. And um, it's a great thing that we're able to do that, but there are a lot of problems with it. Okay, our modern education system was developed in the 1960s. Fred Keller developed a personalized system of instruction where students first read the assigned course material, do one-on-one assessment with a tutor, and then gain permission to move ahead only after demonstrating mastery of the instructional material. Okay? We have lost all of that in modern education. Okay? Parents and teachers or parents and students and administrators are telling teachers don't give so much homework. So there goes reading the assigned material. The teachers' classrooms are too big. They can't meet with students one-on-one. There goes the one-on-one assessment session with a tutor. And gaining permission to move ahead only after demonstrating mastery went out the window a long time ago with social promotion. This essence of public education, of our modern education system, is what we need to go back to. Does it mean we don't need technology or we shouldn't use technology? Of course not, but let's implement it properly. Let's not make the mistake of saying, oh, well, we have all this great technology now, let's just completely redo the education system. No, integrate it into what we have that we know works, because there are hundreds of millions of successful people out there who got an education in public schools in the United States and are doing great. I did, hello. But I didn't have any of this technology. And I still went on to college 3 times and have had great jobs, have had great success. I didn't need technology for any of that. The greatest technology I had when I was in school were these, so I could see. But losing this system, read it, assess it, master it, has been lost. Administrators and teachers will talk to you about mastery, but too many parents are afraid of their children not being accepted if they are not moved forward with their groups. So social promotion is killing these kids. They're being moved up to a new grade where they are not prepared to handle the material. Class meetings where we hold discussions about concepts and answer questions. This is great. This is, again, part of the basis of the modern education system. Initial engagement with content could be done independently, then discussed and applied in the social context of the classroom. That's how we should be doing it. The systematic process of applying psychological principles of human learning to the creation of effective instructional solutions would effectively engage students to attain the targeted learning outcomes. In other words, consider what choices teachers have about the planning and implementation of learning experiences and how those lead to student success. We teach that in college. When someone gets a degree in education, they learn that in college. And they don't have to learn it through technology, okay? And there's this, this just bugs me. Specific changes that are likely to continue, okay, according to the Federal Department of Education, include flexible or extended deadlines for assignment completion, more student choice regarding measures of learning, and more authentic experiences that involve the meaningful application of newly learned skills and knowledge. For example, team-based projects that involve multiple creative and social media tools in support of collaborative problem solving. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Flexible or extended deadlines? What does that teach kids? That they can do their work whenever they feel like it? They can turn things in at their whim? That, oh, they can get to it eventually? That is not how the world works. That is coddling. And coddling is why we have a generation of young adults who don't know what it is to actually work. They don't. They get a job thinking it'll be easy and they'll just use a computer the whole time when they actually have to touch things, clean things, and wash dishes, and handle money, and it's a lot more than they bargained for because they're used to being coddled. This is not helpful. This should never happen. Flexible deadlines, it's not a reality. And we need our kids to be in reality. Now, let's talk about how COVID affected students. The transition brought a lot of changes because a lot of the teachers had never taught online before. So, e learning, while it's a fantastic technological option, is something you have to learn how to do. Okay, you can't just throw a teacher into a learning management system and expect them to be able to just do it. So teachers had to change their approach to how they taught. They had to learn how to use these systems. And they decided to greatly reduce the amount of instruction, practice, and assessments given to their students and the amount of time that they spent learning. It was a lot less than if kids had been physically present at school. In extreme cases, there were students that didn't even access any of the materials provided by their teachers. This isn't an extreme. Okay, this was the quote, that in extreme cases. No, it's not an extreme. It was almost the norm. The number one complaint of teachers was students not attending Zoom sessions or turning in assignments. Yet, the teachers were pressured to give them passing grades because, oh, COVID. That does not help anyone. It has done a huge disservice to our students to put them in the next grade level after COVID if they did not earn that. If a student did their work, showed up to Zoom classes, and earned good grades, move them on. If a student did nothing, you keep them where they were until they do master the material. Right now, we have kids that are 1-2 years behind and are struggling in their current grade level because they were passed out of their former grade level without mastery. The effect showing greater growth in lower grades is consistent with the notion of scale deceleration often observed on K through 12 tests. So the reason some students showed growth is because they dumbed down the test. Well, because of COVID, we have to make it, easier. That's not a valid educational strategy. Okay, why would teachers feel it necessary to lower their standards, decrease rigor, and lower expectations just because students were learning online? That's not appropriate. Okay, when we look at test scores right after COVID, the achievement gaps are the greatest in the early grades, where growth in math and reading usually tend to be the highest. They were actually the lowest this time. Okay. So if you take a first through third grader and make them learn online, the teacher doesn't adjust pedagogy appropriately, dumbs down the assignments, and an achievement gap occurs. Duh. Of course it's going to occur because the teachers haven't been making them do anything. And by the way, parents, you don't get off the hook here either. If your child was doing online learning during COVID and you were home and they didn't do anything, that's your fault. Not the kid, not the teacher. Yours. You're the parent. It's your responsibility. I was working. Doesn't matter. Still your responsibility to check every day and make sure that student did what they were supposed to do because you're the parent. Taken together, testing results suggest that one may expect lower performance when students start school in 2020. This was a comment from the DOE. There may be more students potentially in need of support and intervention, and in addition, it seems likely that impacts differ across subjects, grade levels, and states. Okay, another duh moment. You don't need some big, complicated process to find students who are behind. Test them on the material they're supposed to know, identify where they're lacking in it, and then teach that first. Do the catch up first, and as they start catching up, roll into your regular curriculum for the new year. This might take a few weeks, but it can be done. Second, of course, things will vary across states and across schools. Hello, everyone's different. Everyone's different. Teachers, students, everyone. Okay? So when it comes to technology and education, while there are some great things we can use and some wonderful tools that will definitely help students and help teach them how to use technology in our digital world, which is what we have, it can't replace teaching because there are too many variances among students, among schools, and among communities across this nation that cannot be accounted for in a computer program. One of those is learning styles, which I touched on briefly earlier. There are three primary learning styles: audio, meaning you learn best by hearing; visual, you learn best by seeing and reading; or tactile, also called kinesthetic, which is you learn by doing with your hands. Okay? And technology cannot replace a teacher's ability to determine what learning style a child has and how best to use that to their advantage. So, next episode, we'll be talking about learning styles, how they can be used to make a student's learning experience easier, more productive, and make it so that they don't feel like they're not learning or that they can't learn. Because if a teacher teaches primarily visually, she's going to lose every audio student and every kinesthetic student, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So being able to teach in all the learning styles is essential to being a good teacher in today's modern education system. I hope you enjoyed episode 4. I am glad I was able to come to you from my hotel room in Indiana as we are visiting with family for the holidays. But I never want to give up my crusade to get education fixed. And you all are a big part of that, and I really appreciate you. So I hope to see you for episode 5 when we talk about student learning styles after the holidays. And I pray that you are having a wonderful week, a wonderful holiday season. And don't forget to subscribe. Take good care, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.